I hope she finds it.
My brother's cat did the same thing yesterday. He was out there like 9:00 last night walking around looking for it. I told my dad, I said, it's probably in the basement. Well, 2:00 in the morning, he hears the basement door, creak open because he sleeps in the chair in the living room, and he heard the basement door, and here comes the cat.
Oh boy.
So,
Jeffrey?
Oh, am I on now? Okay.
So, Jeff, if you want to share some of your experiences, that would be.
We can start with the infamous tractor ride. That was probably my craziest one. So that was when I discovered that Bigfoot's not just in the Pacific Northwest. He's right here on the East Coast, and he's sometimes in my backyard. So we've been working on a deer stand, and a tree limb had fallen on it, and it was after dark, and we said, well, go down there and cut the limb off because muzzleloader season's starting in a few days. So two of us, my buddy and I, went down there, took the tractor, turned it around the patented Coonbo get the hell out of Dodge maneuver, and never even thought about that at the time until we were leaving. But I always was taught about that when I was a kid, even prior to hearing all this stuff. Oh, look, flat rock.
Hey, we got
flat rock.
There we go. Good job, Jerry. Good job, guys.
It's coming out. It's working. It's actually streaming to us too. Awesome.
Awesome.
Okay, man.
Yep.
All right, Jeff, you going to tell us anything about?
Yeah. So we park the tractor. We walk in there, and it was probably like 9:00 at night or something. I don't even remember. It was 2008, and I remember that. And we walk in, and we're looking at this thing, trying to figure out, how we're going to get it off. So we just finally, I hold the light, and he starts sawing on it. Well, we didn't bring any power tools, so we were doing this all by old school. So it takes a while to saw a limb off of a tree with a handsaw, especially when it's a good sized limb. Probably a good thing we didn't take a chainsaw. That might have made things worse after I tell you the next part. But we start making all this ruckus trying to get this limb off. And to my left, about 100 yards up in the timber, I hear a scream. And when I mean a scream, just imagine the loudest thing you can think of, like a train horn or something to the effect of that. And I start looking at him going, what the hell is that? And he's like, I don't know, probably just somebody screwing around or, whatever. And he keeps cutting. Well, and it screams again about 30 seconds later, but it has closed the distance till about 40 yards.
Oh, wow.
Which still makes me think to this day that there was more than one of them. Because I never heard anything move. And it cut, this time when it cut loose, I felt like I was like standing, 5 feet from it, because like it felt like it was rattling my insides, like it was going to blow my clothes off of me.
We don't need another naked Jeffrey story.
No. Anyway, once that happened, I hear him behind me going, I don't know what that is, but start backing up towards me. And I'm backing up. And about that time, I had this really dim flashlight. You couldn't see hardly like 10 yards in front of you with the thing. One of those old classic yellow ever-ready flashlights. And at that point, when it screamed again, I just threw the light and took off, running back to the tractor, tripping over sticks, stuff's flying everywhere. And I don't even know. I've lost him at this point. He is somewhere down below me. He makes it out to the field about the time I do, and he's about 30 yards below me. So I get in the tractor, and I'm like firing it up and taking off, all the lights on. And I drove past him. I damn near left him in the field. And he's running next to me, cussing, climbing up onto the ladder, gets the door open, goes, "What the hell are you going to do? Leave me out here." I wasn't even talking to him. I was just grabbing another gear. And I did find out something important about that John Deere tractors that night. If you hit the right gear going across a cornfield, you can jump a hill.
Oh yeah.
I can imagine some people that were up at the farm were like, "What the hell's going on down there?" But
imagine seeing that.
We bypassed mom and dad and the farm. We went right up to my grandfather's because his place was straight across the field. We come flying up there, pull into the driveway. We basically slid the tractor sideways into the parking lot and get out there, run in and lock the door. And he's like, looking at us where my grandmother and I think some of the neighbors or something were over there. And he's like, "What is going on with you?" I said, "There's something down there." And it just ran us out of the woods. And he goes, "Well, you remember those tracks I found, don't you?" And he had found Bigfoot tracks back in the 70s on the other side of the farm, but I mean, it wasn't that far away from where this happened. And there actually, I think that was when Bob Chance came out, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Bob was a local researcher that won't talk about it now for whatever reason.
I can't get him to answer. Not to cut Jeff off. I did go to a seminar that he did whatever year I was in 5th grade. Way back. What year would that be, Chad? We're the same age. But
don't ask me to do math, Jerry.
And also, real quick, Bob Chance he gave a seminar there, and it was fantastic. It wasn't too awful many years after my incident. I'm not going to get into that yet, but he had foot casts, normal stuff, I don't remember much about photographs, but the audio he had was phenomenal audio. A wealth of knowledge. I don't know why he is not in the subject anymore, but I wish he would. I did send him an email some time back, but never got a reply. So normally that means leave me alone, so I didn't bother.
I never tried reaching out to him since you told me that. So
yeah.
Well, I guess the good thing about everything is that more and more people are starting to come out about this. So maybe if he is having that issue, maybe he'll rethink it and actually see like, hey, this is actually becoming more talked about.
A possibility. I mean, he's a retired school teacher, well-known person in the county. But
maybe he'll come around one day and just be like, "Oh, well."
I can also understand he probably had enough criticism over the years that he probably just got tired of it.
Yeah, but see, I'm hoping I do. That way everybody thinks of me as I get older. Well, I'm getting pretty old, but as that crazy old man, because I'd like to be the crazy old man, with all the cool stories that, people, that's not real.
Well, I also want to say, I want to apologize right now, Jeff. We kind of screwed up here a little bit. Not us. And nobody screwed up, but we're on top of Mark and Becca right now.
Yeah.
Forgot all about that on Friday nights. It's okay, Adam.
I apologize.
I didn't think I just
I completely forgot too because I didn't even see their pop up tonight because normally Mark sends me a.
Yeah, you know what? I did not get a notification for a show tonight.
I didn't either.
Because I would have rung a bell real quick and I said, Adam, we need to bump to 9:00.
Yeah.
And
I totally forgot about it.
There's so many shows. You know, it's really tough to pick out a time to go on because you might be interfering with somebody else's.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to do it.
But from now on, we'll try to set a schedule where everybody can see one another.
This is
Okay, Becca's on by herself. Mark's at work, but I do apologize. If anybody's in their chat over there with Becca, we apologize 100%.
We're sorry.
Yeah, and,
she probably won't be on long because she's probably just going to do her plant thing, and
I don't know. But,
so there's a couple people in here. We can say hello to. Hello, Gary. Hello, Bigfoot 911. Hello, Deb Bryan. Hello, Leah from Houston, Texas.
Oh,
that is one of my first subscribers, and
awesome.
Pretty awesome. So welcome to the live stream, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out to come hang out. Hello, Flat Rock. Hello, Richard. Let's see if we're missing anybody else.
There.
Hillary. Hey, Hillary.
Hillary. Hello, Hillary. Patrick Noble. I don't know if I already.
Brother Noble. Brother Gary will be your best friend.
Oh yeah, when it comes to moderating, Gary is the master.
He is.
The man must be doing like 20 different channels.
Yeah, he's got like 15 streams set up on each one.
Just in there.
He does an awesome job promoting you.
There's like a Rush drum solo.
Yeah. What a drummer he was, man.
Yeah.
If you want me to continue for the people that are joining us, other than the ones that we already know that probably heard this, but so after that, I started putting together a lot of stuff over the years. There was just weird stuff that happened around here that we never thought was. It's one of those things where you think 3 chats. Good Lord, Gary.
Who else is on?
There was a lot of stuff that I started kind of putting together that could have been possible things, like an apparition that I saw in a snowstorm one day at the end of the feedlot. I was thinking maybe it was one of my relatives, but after looking back, what, Jerry?
Chad's knocking his microphone around.
Ow.
I just shush.
After we had that experience, I started thinking back about some of that stuff because that happened a few years before that happened. And I was ducking under a branch in the yard, and I saw something at the other end of the lot, and I thought it was till that time frame, I thought maybe I saw a ghost. And I've seen ghosts before. But I thought about it, and the size was just all off. So that was one of the things that kind of made me wonder, height-wise, that thing was way too big to be a goat, a shadow. If it was one of the biggest damn shadows I've ever seen at that distance. I mean, it was pretty big. Now that I look back on it, I think, the height of where the headlocks and everything were, whatever it was, head-wise was above those. And those things are about as tall as, I don't know, they're probably 5-6 foot. And this thing was at least a foot or so over that. So now that I kind of go back and look at it and
Jeff, let me ask you a question. So when you're out there still to this day, do you kind of keep an eye out, or? Oh
yeah, a lot more than I used to.
Do you go out there at night?
Sometimes I try to, but then I'm wandering around down there like an idiot, and I'm like, I'm getting too far away from the truck. Maybe I should go back. But
or don't go alone. One of the two.
The thing is, like, I went out there for so many years, and never really, even after that, for a long time, I kind of put it in the back of my mind. Just chalked it up to, crazy stuff happening. But there's been noises I've heard over the years that still to this day make no sense to me. Things that sounded like people smacking stuff with hammers when there shouldn't have been anybody anywhere near me with a hammer for me to hear it.
Wow.
Once in a while you'd hear like a pop or what sounded like logs falling, but then you look around, you don't even see any, within sight of you.
And how many acres, Jeffrey?
Where we're at's about 100. Our property alone's almost 170.
Dang.
Or no, wait a minute. I gotta think about this. I think it's between this property and here, it's probably about 200 or close to it. I could be wrong about that. And then we have some rental properties that we're probably close to 250, but they all connect to us. And it all runs up into the ridge, which runs to the state park.
Do you remember like hearing any odds? Kids don't pay attention to it, but when you were a kid, did you hear anything as a kid that you might have been curious about, or just, I'm a kid?
Well,
I don't care.
There was times I always felt like something, not necessarily hearing anything, but like sensing it. Times where like I was out because I started hunting by myself when I was like 12. I'd go out and something like that. I'd load up with a 22 or a shotgun and just go out during like small game season. I'd just wander off into the woods and sometimes
it sounds familiar too.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd feel like something was just, something was watching me, and it wasn't anything I was, used to. Even when I got older, like in my early 20s, there'd be times I'd be hunting the back, and I'd just decide it was time to leave. I'd walk out of the woods early. I never did that a lot, but there's a few times, I'd get like, the stuff that Greg House has talked about. He'd get out in the middle of a field somewhere and like feel like something's behind, something's there behind him, and turn just swing around and nothing's there.
The only times I've ever been out in the woods at night was camping, but now. When I hear everybody's experiences and everything, the only time I go out at night now, I'm carrying something.
Yeah. But since we're on the subject of weird noises, there's a couple things. One night I had something back right after we got out of high school. We were just about graduated, and my best friend Josh, who I've hunted with for years, he was actually with me the night we got chased to the tractor. I don't know if it was the same one or if it was something else, but something got up on the main road behind us on the blacktop between here and the other farm. We had walked from his uncle's, which is the nursing home next door that Jerry visits on a regular basis. So Cindy can sing, but we were walking back because something happened. He had an old Silverado with one of those auxiliary tanks, and sometimes if you accidentally flip the switch, it would shut the gas off to the truck. So we decided to walk back to my place to get another truck, drive over there, and we get up onto the pavement. We're walking up Glasgow Road, and here comes something gets onto behind us. There was like 3 or 4 of us, and we hear it step up onto the road, and then you hear what sounds like 2 flat feet slapping the pavement coming up behind us. And everybody has forgotten about that except for Josh and I. And Josh still won't say either way what he thinks it was. He tried to say it was something that wasn't two-legged, but it definitely sounded two-legged to me. A deer wouldn't have sounded like that coming up the pavement.
Maybe it was four-legged, but it was just standing on two legs.
Yeah,
Anyway,
black bear chasing me.
Bad joke.
What you're saying about weird noises, there was a time back about, it would have been like 2010 or between 2010 and 2012, I'm thinking is when this was. I was out getting ready to put the cows in one morning. The manure pit's right next to the barn. As I'm bringing the cows around the lot, I was looking into the barn. Behind me, I hear, I don't know if Chad's ever heard of blue heron. I'm sure.
I probably have, just didn't pay attention.
I know that Jerry has, and I'm sure you probably have, Adam. You know how freaky sounding those things are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard.
Google it one time and listen.
I heard what sounded like a heron.
Mm-hmm.
It did that shriek behind me, but it sounded off. And then I start listening, and there's another one off to the other side of the pit making that noise. And then somewhere in the vicinity of the silage trench, it's on the other end of the manure pit, I hear what sounds like the same exact thing. And this is all like going on at the same time. Like I was basically boxed in against the dairy, and I figured nothing was coming at me from behind because there was, a whole barn full of cows there. So nothing sneaking through that. And I just kind of ignored it and went back to my business and started milking. But it just sounded off. It really sounded off. And I've heard blue herons a lot, but I've never been surrounded on three sides by blue herons at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that sounds like something. Yeah.
I also had talking about here, I've had the creek. Well, it's actually like a drainage that comes down from the terrace at the barn. And then there's like a spring in the bottom. But Pop and I were fixing the electric fence one day, and there's just all this old overgrown stuff and this washout. And it's real thick in the one area. And something was growling at us from in that brush. And I could never figure out I don't know what it was, but you could hear it. And it was a pretty overgrown, little cut going down through there. And it was washed out, but it had regrown all this crap all over it. And it was like you couldn't see the bottom of it. And I think something was laying in it, growling at us. And it got to the point where my grandfather told me to go back to the house and get one of the, go get something. And he just stayed down there and kept working on the fence. I was like, what the hell is he doing? But I still think
you've seen like 3 different Bigfoots just run by, and he's like, "Yep, this is an
it's
everyday thing for me."
I still think he knew more about what was going on here than he ever told anybody, because I came back and I said, "What happened?" He's like, "I don't know. I was just working around here and it stopped growling." And I'm thinking he either he turned around, whatever it was, snuck off down the ditch, or he just whatever. He was pretty good at ignoring things, so he might have just been like, "Oh well, we just got to fix this." Kept on working, knowing him. He was pretty unfazed by stuff. But I've heard a lot of weird vocals, like Western Maryland, where I'm going here in a couple weeks. The 16th. I think it's when we're leaving Wednesday. Either Wednesday or Thursday, we're going up there again to Allegheny County. And that was where I found the trackway. And that was where I had something mimicking my friend Sam in a hammock tent.
One thing, Jeff, if I may say something real quick. You was just talking about mimicking.
Yeah.
So me and my wife was getting ready to go out to dinner earlier today. And I was in the kitchen getting something, and she was in the living room, and she told me, she said, "Did you just hear that?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "I literally just heard something that sounded like our daughter talking." And that was,
sounded like it said hi.
She's sitting beside me right now. She said it sounded like something said hi in my daughter's voice. And I know that all of us, and I'm not trying to cut you off, Jeff.
You're good.
I know we had talked about this in previous streams
It
before.
reminds me of stuff I've heard in the woods.
Yeah. And we had talked about this. I think all of you guys remember that we had, how me and my family had just moved into this new house, and it ain't really, it's new to us because it's a new place to live, but the house was built in 1900. So, and I mean, it's a great home. It's a 6-bed, 2-bath house. And, yeah, she was sitting here and she was just like, "I literally just heard what sounded like our daughter say hi to me." And I was like, "Well, let's go ahead and get in the Jeep. Let's go, let's go get something to eat." Yeah, don't know if I can handle that right now, but yeah. But anyways, I'm sorry, Jeff. I wanted to.
You're good. I've actually heard stuff like that before. You know, the one thing they say about you hear your name being called in the woods, go away from it.
That is old Appalachian folklore.
Do not answer that.
Do not answer back. And I remember my grandfather and my grandmother telling me that is, if we was outside playing and it started getting dark with me and my brother, if you hear something, say your name or something that's coming from the woods calling you to come in there, run, go, leave.
Yes, correct.
I hope that's common sense, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
And knowing the current generation of people these days, they'll be like, "Oh, we need to help them," and then they end up disappearing.
I'm going into the woods because I hear my name.
And you're going to end up on missing 411.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Be like some of those shows that my wife watches when I wake up at like 3:00 in the morning. She can't sleep. She's in there watching like a murder mystery or something. And I'm like, how are you supposed to sleep if you're watching something like that at 3:00 in the morning? Right. Go to bed. But yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry, Jeff, for cutting you off.
You're good.
So one of my questions is if you could and I've asked you this previously before, but what would you say was your most terrifying experience that you had?
We haven't even brushed that one yet.
I remember the one that we had talked about before on
Virginia.
previous live streams, and I told you the one that you had shared with me that freaked me out the most. Could you go over that one?
West Virginia was what freaked me out the most. And keep in mind, I didn't see anything. But I had the absolute, creepiest, just craziest feeling. That one, that's one of the reasons why I will never go back to that place. But it was the creepiest thing. We were turkey hunting and getting up onto this ridge, and I'd gone the one way, the other two had split up and gone the other direction. And we had this area above us, and there was a lot of thick laurel and stuff, rocks, and it was just kind of a very, very treacherous area to traverse. to get up to where I wanted to go for these turkeys. And I'm just kind of slowly making my way up through there because keep in mind, it was West Virginia in the spring and the bears are starting to dig out of their dens. So I'm watching for dens and all this stuff. And I found a couple, looked like they had recently been dug out. And as we're going up, there's a rock that I have to go around and it's a blind spot. And as the closer I'm getting to this rock, the harder it is for my legs to keep working. For some reason, I just keep like getting slower and slower until I just kind of like crawl to a stop. And for some reason, something is telling me not to go around that rock.
Wow.
Something is telling me that I don't need to be going around there. I need to be heading back towards camp and going somewhere else. And it was bad enough to the point that as I'm backing up, I unstrapped my revolver and took the safety off of my shotgun that was only loaded with turkey loads. So either way, something was going to happen if I tried to get nabbed from where I was. But I just kept backing up until I was far enough away from there that I felt safe enough to turn around, and I went back down to the camp. But it didn't last very long, but it was still the creepiest one. Yeah. That was the one that even, getting screamed at 40 yards in the dark, that didn't freak me out like this. I mean, it spooked. It was kind of hard. It's still, once in a while, I have trouble talking about that one just because of the sheer volume that was trying to relive. That's a little rough sometimes, but the volume that thing put off was just insane.
Wow.
But the creep factor in West Virginia was way worse. Way worse. And we had something else going on there because Josh, we left him out there trout fishing, and Sam and I went back to, start collecting more firewood for the evening. And then a few minutes later, here comes Josh. Now, keep in mind, we're like 3 miles back off the main trail, like where by parks. Nobody had started camping in that section that week. We had been there. We were there for almost 3 days before we saw anybody else.
Wow.
That's absolutely terrifying.
Exactly.
Like I thought mine was terrifying, but that right there, that would. It was like one of the comments that I saw earlier. Yeah, Sean Collins said it. Said if something is calling my damn name in the woods, the last thing I'm doing is wanting to investigate. You only see ass and elbows. He is exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, nope.
The craziest part about what I was saying about Josh, he's not one prone to pull his gun a lot, but we were like, he's usually the last one you see pulling his sidearm. If you see him pulling, you might want to be headed in the opposite direction because something's fixing to happen. But he comes back and he's got his 9 in one hand and his fishing pole in the other, and he's looking behind him. He's looking up the trail at me, looking over to where Sam's collecting firewood, going, and then he's looking back over this way, and I'm like, what is he doing? And he gets up to me and he goes, how long have you guys been here? I was like, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes. He's like, so that wasn't you throwing rocks in the creek down there? No. He's like, well, I didn't see anybody else down there. There's no one camping anywhere. And he looks at me and he goes, bears don't have hands. And then he walked over and started getting dinner ready. But every time he tried to act like he wasn't freaked out, But if he had to go use the facilities or something in the bushes, he didn't leave that pistol sitting anywhere when he went over to use that. Every time he had to disappear, roll a TP and a handgun. That was the order. And a flashlight.
Oh my.
I think one of the it wasn't really a well, I would say it's kind of a Bigfoot experience, but it turned out it ended up being my dad. But I remember I've got one biological brother,
of those.
and I have 2 stepbrothers, but I consider them all, blood brothers. And we was up in the woods one day playing, and we was all standing around and everything, and then all of a sudden we heard what sounded like someone taking a stick and hitting it against the tree, and something was going ooh ooh like that, and it scared the shit out of all of us because we thought it was Bigfoot. And my dad had just the sound of it down and everything. And we was deep in the woods too. So I don't know how he found us, but he did that for a good 5 or 10 minutes, and it scared us enough. We just all just huddled up together, and we're just like, it's been a great ride, boys.
Well, it's funny you mention that because my dad did the same thing to Josh and I, literally within like a couple of weeks of the tractor incident.
He's lucky he didn't get shot.
we're in the shop, and we had the front sliders closed on the shop, and we were back there and had the fire and the wood stove going, and we were kind of talking about that from the week before, trying to plan some stuff out for upcoming hunting. And this is so coincidental. Dad's lucky I didn't, blast him when he started shaking that front door of that damn building, because Josh was playing the Ohio Howl. We were listening to that because it's very similar to what was going on here. And about that time, the front, aluminum sliders start shaking on the front of the shop. Like something's like banging, hammering on it, just making all sorts of ruckus. And we look at each other, and he's like, I used to have I still have one, but I keep a cabinet in the back with some toys for, emergency use sometimes. And I didn't have time to get to it, and he's scrambling. So I grabbed the closest thing I had, which was like a little 22 revolver or something. I've got this.
The pea shooter.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is not how I imagined going out. As I've got this. Meanwhile, he's trying to get to the long guns, and I'm like standing there holding on this door thinking, this is not going to go well. And all of a sudden, the door slides open, and I'm looking at my father, and he's like, what are you guys doing? Well, actually, what the first thing he said, he was like, what are you doing? And is that Pop's revolver? And I was like, immune to the fact that I had it pointed directly at him, because, something is beating on the front of this building while we're playing one of the craziest sounds I've ever heard. And then he just closed the door and left. I'm like, the hell?
All right, boys, you be good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, man.
Yeah, let's just say after that,
He ain't done yet.
I don't venture anywhere after dark without a light and some sort of protection, because I'm not too worried down here because it's wide open. Like, something would really have to be working hard to get at me. Unless it comes from the neighbor's woods, which is only like 50 feet wide. basically.
What's behind you, Jeff?
Huh?
What's behind the farm?
Oh, I'm talking about my house.
I know.
I'm not worried about down here, but the state park is behind me.
State park. What about that state park?
Oh, well, there's a lot of stuff there. Somebody hit one with a car in the 70s.
That's
I
when
saw that in the movie.
And Jerry, I found out when I briefly talked to Mark from the Bigfoot Digest, that's one of the ones he interviewed. The guy's dead now.
Yeah.
But he's got it. It's in the book. So when the book comes out, yeah.
So I distinctly remember that. And
when the book gets re-released.
Yeah, I told you about it because after we realized we were only 5 miles apart from where you live, I remember I told you about the incident.
So that accident was like right behind me.
Pretty much, yeah. Prairie Hill Road. And the car hit something. And they got hair from, the front of the car where it crinkled with the bumper and everything, and obviously collected hair. And upon further investigation, it was Black Angus.
A cow.
And Jeff was very quick to tell me, well, back then there was no Black Angus cattle around here. It's probably correct. It's probably correct. But this was all reported in a local Aegis.
We didn't have black, and they surely weren't wandering down 24 into the park.
Yeah, right.
I did have a couple that did that.
Did he give you an idea when that revised book was going to come out?
I believe he said this year.
Awesome. There you go. Because
he was revising.
I'm looking.
He was revising a bunch of his books.
Okay.
Because he's into the rock and roll. He's more heavily into the rock and roll subject now. He's kind of gotten out of the. He told me that things kind of died off with the Bigfoot book stuff.
Yes.
So he went back to doing rock and roll.
Okay. But yeah, I can't wait for that book to come out. It's going to be awesome.
There was a movie I watched the other night. It was what was it called? Exists.
Oh yeah.
You guys watched that movie?
Yeah.
Man, like for the budget and everything that they did for that movie, that was a good Bigfoot movie. Very good. One of my favorite parts, spoiler alert, is when the RV flips over and the camera's panned up and he jumps down. That was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
That was the one that took place out in Texas, wasn't it?
Somewhere. It had to do with of course it was like the average horror movie. You got the five.
It was like the family
teenagers.
property that they said never to go to at certain times or something.
Yeah, and the guys, one of the kids' uncles owned it or something, and
yeah.
But it was good. I really like the scene. Also, is when he's riding his bike, and it's running beside him, and it just screams. And it was. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, especially when when he calls his uncle and told him, he's like, "You're where?"
And it keeps on breaking up.
And his uncle shows up and ends up getting knocked out by the damn thing.
And see, this is the thing. What you was just mentioning about the newer generation.
Yeah.
So let's say if
that would be what would happen to the newer generation.
Yeah, if one of our kids was sitting here and said, "Okay," and we told them, "Okay, do not go out here." They're going to go out there anyway, and then they wonder, well, why'd this happen to me? What?
I think the coolest Bigfoot movie I've seen is Primal Rage.
Yes,
Ooh.
Primal Rage is a good one.
Yes.
That one kind of from everything everybody's told me about these creatures, that could be something more realistic. They're protecting their land,
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to blend in with the environment.
There's also one I want to check out. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to find it. It's set up like one of those Survivor shows, like with Les Stroud or whatever. You know
Oh,
what
I've
I'm talking
seen it.
about?
It's spectacular. Yeah, it's a good movie.
The guy's out there by himself and he starts hearing things, and it boils down to him starting to question his own sanity. He's like, am I seeing this stuff, or am I going crazy, or is this thing actually here? And then it finally unveils. I'm not going to spoil it, but and I was like, wow.
That movie also involves like bright lights.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
So anyway.
But didn't on Survivor Man, did anybody ever see that one where he was sitting on the side of that mountain and you can see something sitting in the shade behind him?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of came out like a shadow.
He came out with an interview, or there's an actual documentary that he did talking about that experience that he had.
Yeah.
Bigfoot. And I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. We didn't really have time to watch.
Was he in Washington?
Somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
But that was really good too. We need to have like all of us go watch movies or documentaries and just be like, hey, okay, so this is about that. This is about this. He was Hillary said he was in Romania, Jeff.
Oh. Shit. Romania.
All the new people that has joined in, thank you so much for joining in. Yeah. So Jeff was just telling some of his experiences. If you've just joined in, we're going to be going through everybody that's on the screen right now that's had their experiences, and then we'll be reaching out to some of you guys in the chat that has your experience. And if you do have a StreamYard account or something, we would love to pull you up on here and you tell your experience on the screen and to everybody. So if anybody's interested in that, comment down below. But now, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
How are you, my friend? You've been quiet.
Yep.
You've been very quiet. Okay.
I was actually training the guy beside this way over here.
Oh,
green shirt.
Oh.
Yeah. When somebody's talking, you don't interrupt them.
Yeah.
Just
poor Jeff.
I want to give a big shout out to Jerry. Also, he was kind enough to help me out earlier today to get all this set up. So thank you so much, Jerry.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Jerry's awesome.
Yep.
Jerry's the brains behind the operation. I'm just the one that
evidently I fell as a teacher. I failed as a teacher.
Also, everybody that's in the chat right now, let's give a big thank you for all three of these gentlemen coming on here to hang out and help me with this.
We got another one on the way.
Yeah, we got another one on the way.
He's on the way. I'm working with him back.
By the way, real quick before Jerry gets started, it's Man Versus.
Yes, that's the movie. Yes. Okay. Hillary said Jeff is just the pretty one.
Yeah. He's pretty all right.
Brother Jerry.
Yes,
oh my gosh. There was a stink bug on me.
Again?
Yeah, again. It's the same one, dude. I guess we're going to have to be friends.
You're going to close the toilet or something. It's just going to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much. They're a pain. You know what?
Brother
Just
Jerry.
the brains, Jeff is the beauty. Gee, thanks, Mary. You just wait till I come to Pennsylvania. Anyway.
I'm Jerry's booking agent.
Pretty much.
Jerry, tell us your experience about the window.
The window?
The window.
The window. I kind of forgot. I'm just kidding. We never really talked much about, as far as the most famous documentary or documented footage, or movie, I'm sorry, being The Legend of Boggy Creek. But
prior, we got to give it a round of applause. That's
absolutely that movie was low budget and very good for what it was. Yep. It's one of my favorites.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
But probably late 71, 72. I'm thinking it's like 72. I would have been roughly 4 or 5 years old, and probably a little. It might have been 71. I apologize because I don't remember. Mom and Dad don't remember at their age now. But at that age, you're young and you just get up and you go climb into bed with Mom and Dad and go back to sleep. And just one night I did that, and I don't know why. I just it was kind of daylight, just like dawn, I guess you could say, bright enough to you could see out the window. It was daylight, and there's a face in the window, man. I mean, a big, large, ugly face, and clearly the one thing that really stuck out in my mind as I'm looking over. This is probably looking over to my right, 10 foot away on the other side of the window, 10 foot away, and but when this thing is just looking at me, it's just got this like buggy black eyes and puffy cheeks with stringy hair down off the cheeks, okay. Chubby neck, and it's snapping its head to the left and back, looking in the window. They snap back towards the road and look back. It was country road. We had a road went up a hill to the side of our house there.
I know where the road is.
And Mill Green Road, yeah. And it was just snapping, looking. And the whole time it's doing that, the one thing that sticks in my mind is that flap of skin under its chin, in its neck area, flapping back and forth as it moved, you know. And that's the one thing that Kristen, I close my eye, you know, close my eyes and it's there, you know, and I nudge Mom and I said, "There's a monster in the window," or whatever I said. And I said, "I saw you're just dreaming," you know, and I did my eye thing again. I looked and it's gone. But then I heard, which I remembered later in life, I remember an vocalization as in, "Ah!" Like it saw me, kind of like a thing, you know, but much
Hillary
deeper and louder. Yeah. And
no, turkey neck.
But it had that flap of skin. Is the one thing that really stuck out in my mind, yeah. And the only thing I can think of is it was either, like I say, it was daylight, so it could be seen, and I couldn't see anything else. It was here up, you know. I couldn't see the rest of the body because, you know, the window's probably 6 or so foot off the ground. And the only thing I can think of is maybe there's a car going up the road or something, or there was, you know, a lot of deer in the area. Back then, there was hardly any housing there, like compared to what it is now. But I don't know. But that,
oh yeah,
I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared because my mother told me I was just dreaming. Okay. Well, let's fast forward to 2015, maybe late 2015. Cindy and I started dating. I got divorced, and from my first wife, and we were riding in a car together. We go out. We always take Mom and Dad, you know, and that story come up in the car, and I said, "Yeah, no." I looked back. The lady sat in the back and said, "Yeah, I was told I was just dreaming." And my mom says, "Maybe you weren't dreaming." At that time, I was like, I ready to lock the brakes up and turn around like, "What the hell are you talking about?" She had said that her sister, her oldest sister, everybody called Sis. Her real name is Geneva, but had an experience out the window of their place. She saw something. A big monkey man.
And it's right there.
She saw. And this is from where I live right now, Flight of the Crow 1 mile to the, we'll say the southwestish, is where my experience was. And I'm going to say 72. Same time frame come to find out is when my Aunt Sis saw hers, Flight of the Crow from where I'm at right now, 1 mile to the north and east.
Yep.
From this very spot today.
And
she saw the same thing, similar, you know. She's dead and gone now, so I can't ask her. I can't talk to her about it, you know.
Well, Jerry, for whatever reason, almost every one of the encounters on BFRO is between you and where I'm at.
Yes.
You know, we got the one that was on Taylor Road, a couple over there within about 10 years of each other on the Whiteford Flats, heading past, you know, the quarries and all.
Yes.
And
I don't need this piece of paper now. He's done said it. But that's true. There's been several sightings.
There's been a lot like in between the two of us where we are.
But
towards Baltimore County, like over there by Gunpowder.
Yeah. There's been some other things that's happened here, much more recent. 2020 most definitely was the creepiest crap like I said, if that happened to me today, looking out that window, I'd probably have a pretty good problem with it. Okay, because fortunately, either mom really didn't look at the window or hear anything, or just was telling me you're dreaming, go to sleep, go back to sleep, whatever. So that, I guess maybe that's a parent comforting thing. You know what I mean? Just go back to sleep. You were dreaming, and that's been, and it lay dormant in the back of my mind for all those years, and then come to find out, oh, you might not have been dreaming, really. So, but most recently, even before we get to the most recent stuff here, we took a little hike down at the bottom of the hayfield here to the creek. That's part of Broad Creek, and we found a super. He keeps smiling and laughing. What's going on? Everything okay?
Yeah.
But
sure.
You're going to bring up some stuff that reminded me of stuff I forgot to tell him.
Okay, well, you'll have your turn again. Hush. Anyway.
Every time we do something like this, something jogs my brain. Like, oh yeah, we forgot about that.
Right.
No, something.
Accurate.
Somebody sent me something very stupid. I couldn't.
Okay. Give me 1 second. David's checking in here.
He's having some problems.
Oh, he's got to do it. Okay. David, if you're watching, all you got to do is click on the box. Click on the box or click on that link that I sent you in the original OLC chat. If you click on that, it should bring you right in. If not, I'll try re-emailing you again. Just give me a second. Anyway, we found a super cleaned up deer carcass down here, skeleton. And it was probably drug up in the tree about 3 foot. And by the hind end. I mean, clean. I don't know how old it would have been. It couldn't have been too old because it wasn't really super weathered, but it was, clean. There was nothing on. It was a clean skeleton. Yep. Both front legs snapped.
Yep.
Both front legs snapped. So
I had something similar. The only difference was it was hanging from my tree stands.
Right. So that was just kind of thing. Okay, well, who knows? At that time, we really didn't pay much. I wish I'd have done more with that particular incident. But,
now, Jerry, was the hide still on that one? Do you remember if it
No. It's totally cleaned off, done. There was nothing around there. Just the skeleton itself. Yep. Adam, it must be pretty good. I don't know. He's still laughing.
Yeah, part of the skin on mine was kind of ripped, but all the meat was gone.
You talk, Jeff. I'm going to go take care of David real quick. I got more to say, so when I get back, I'll tell you about the more recent stuff.
Does he need assistance?
Go ahead.
All right. But yeah, that was like he said about the carcass. You could tell like all the meat was gone. And these things had hung over the rung of the ladder. Something had climbed at least, 7-8 foot up on this tree stand and hung these damn carcasses, and I had to get them off. And even though they were, they didn't really have any meat left on, most of the meat was stripped off and the hide was still hanging on there. You could tell that something, everybody was like, oh, maybe it was the jackass neighbor over here. Maybe he climbed up there and hung them on the rungs. I'm thinking that crackhead is not going to climb up and lay these things over top of the damn rung of the ladder. It looked like something had just walked past it and laid it over like it was on you laid a jacket over the back of a chair. That's what it looked like. It was nuts. And it was right. I think might have been the same year that we got screamed at them. It was, I don't know if it was sending us a message about that one particular field or what it was doing, but there were 2 stands out there that had carcasses hanging off them.
Oh, wow.
So, that's the thing is like you and Chad know my main experience that I had when I was a kid with my brother, seeing him.
Have you heard that one?
Me?
Him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
First time I met him.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And
That was a while ago.
but you know that's the thing. I've never had like when I saw Sasquatch, it wasn't, it wasn't threatening. It wasn't anything like that. It was more or less just standing there. It seemed like it was more curious than anything.
Exactly.
But
all right, Jerry, you can continue now.
yeah.
Are you sure?
Welcome back, brother Jerry. Welcome back.
Yeah, hopefully that works out for David. So
Yeah.
anyway,
we have a individual named Pine Not Yonder or
Yes.
Yoder.
Yoder.
He might be joining in to possibly share his experiences. I'm not sure yet. I sent him a message saying I will have you join in soon if you have the time. But Jerry,
just
please continue with your experiences that you've had.
Okay. Anyway, 2020 was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting around here. I'm just trying to go through. There are several things that happened. I'm not going to try to be chronological about it, but we did. We were out. Now we drop by this area here at an intersection locally every day. The wife and I, every day to work. We know the area. Peripheral vision. We know the area.
Yep.
We were out and we were coming back home, and we turn on. I'll just say Macton Road off of Route 136.
Nobody's gonna know where it is.
And I'm as soon as you make the turn to come down towards our road and driving along, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" And I slammed the brakes on. I threw the car in reverse and I backed up. I look over, freaking big X. I mean, it's a big X. And I said, "Look at that." I said, "That has never been there." And it's never been there. That's something you don't miss. You're going to see it. Okay.
It's in the outro of the show.
Yeah. And the outro. Yeah. But, so, I never went on the property to really check it out for quite some time because it's private property and I just don't want to trouble, et cetera, or
Jerry,
draw attention to it,
What about the log pile?
The what?
That whatever that shanty thing was you found in the wood with the lean-to or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll get to that. Yeah, that's actually before that. Yeah. See, like I said, I'll forget 10,000 times. But that X, one side still rooted. The other side was a removed tree. It was whatever, cut off. The human being's not going to put it up there. I can tell you that now. And there was no equipment tracks of any kind to swing in there or to pick it up and put it there. Number one. Number two, why would somebody put it there? So the next thing that I was smart enough to think of when I was going through this I was told that, that's probably man-made. I said, okay. There's no equipment tracks there. They can't do that. A man's not going to grab a hold of a tree and push it over while it's still rooted. Okay. And I checked, I went back to the date that's stamped on the photograph that I took that day. And I checked the weather 24 hours prior and 24 hours after that particular date. No high winds whatsoever. Why did that tree go over? Partially over. It went over until the top was locked into the top of another tree, and then when it was cut off, it was placed right in front of it, touching. Just keep that in mind because more of 2020's antics from down there will make you believe, okay, maybe something did put that there. Okay. And we heard two different vocalizations. That year, 2020, I do truck and tractor pull filming. And nothing, everything was shut down in Maryland that year. There was no motorsports events here. I was traveling up into central and northern Pennsylvania, 3 and 4 hours away from home to do any filming. And let's see, the first one was October, it'd be September, coming home. I was in Silver's Grove, Pennsylvania. It's a 3-hour ride. I got home. It's probably about 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And I parked the truck, get my stuff rounded up, go out, drop the tailgate, pull my electronics out because I always bring them inside. Don't leave them outside. I heard the perfect howl and then coyotes, I call them coyotes. Maybe 5 or 6 seconds later, come in. It's so textbook, like everything you see on people's shows, everything you hear about, and all the horror stories of Bigfoot and stuff. Textbook. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, you know. I mean, the hound got my attention immediately. I said, what? And then the coyote started. I'm like, wow, that is so textbook. I grabbed my stuff, went on in the house. You know, I had plenty of time. I could tell, you know, it was from that area. I know it was from that bottom down in that area, which is where Deer Creek passes through. And 1 month later, exactly, her and I went to Needmore, Pennsylvania for a diesel truck dirt drag, which is not too awful far from Miss Mary out there. And we got out there, show got done quick. We got back home. Here it was just a little before midnight, parked the truck in the same spot. I gathered my stuff out of my side, closed the door, dropped the tailgate of the truck, went around and opened her door, helped her get out of there. 3 very distinct howls a little further away, you know, 25 seconds long. Then the second one come in an octave higher, same amount of time roughly. And then the third one was an octave higher than that. And I remember Cindy saying, is that? I said, yes. I said, I think it is. Of course, you know, and her clean English said, we need to get the hell in the house. so we hurried up, closed the truck up, grabbed stuff, and we got in the house, you know. That's crazy. And it's all from that area. Now the second vocalization, there's another area, Jeff, I was telling you about, just a little further south of 136, maybe an eighth of a mile on the other side of the highway there. Right. That's a perfect spot. I think that may have came from there. And there's scout camps. You could go from this area where this X is and cross under Route 136. It got great big tunnels where the water, the Broad Creek passes underneath. Yeah. And you can go all the way over to those scout camps and never be seen.
Exactly.
And they have many reports of that scout camp over there. Broad Creek Scout Camps is what it is. There's a big lake
that
over
area
there.
He's talking about is extremely thick.
It's thick, and a lot of reports of vocalizations of something over there.
I still think that all of us should figure out a time when all of us have some time off from work or whatever, and we should all get together and go to some of these places. Yep. I think it'd be awesome.
We could take it all sorts of places around here.
Crazy.
And there's one place that I need to get it back out to, and it's in the neighboring county, the peninsula, as Jerry and I refer to it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just for the fact there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there that try to keep other people from knowing it.
Now, what Jeff is referring to, we got to go back probably 2013, maybe 2012, maybe even it might have been 2010 in that area. Let's just say late 2000s before we got into the teens. And we used to do a lot of hay here, and we heard a noise. Mom and I both, you know, the dad was on the, bailing, and we heard something, you know. I wouldn't call it a crash, but we just heard something. And we even both, you know, we're apart, you know, we're stacking hay in the field, ready to come back and pick it up later. And we both looked at one another like, what was that? You know, we turned and looked, but, you know, we're busy. We got to keep up with the tractor and stuff. So we didn't go look down the hill. The whole front of our property, it's a pretty steep hill with all wood.
It is.
And so we talked to our neighbor who has since sold the house and moved away, of all places, Florida. Skunk ape territory. But anyway.
Wow.
She had found a lean-to built here. She said the trees were not cut; they were broken. The stuff that was used there on this hill, and of course now it's over towards an area that there's a couple of flat areas over between my parents' house and their house, and she said they were sizable logs. She was thinking her kids did it. She goes, "What in the world did my kids put this up here?" And she said, "These are too big for my kids to even, you know, even an adult human being to put up there." You know, but she tore it down. You know, she got the tractor and chain and tore. You know, she pulled everything down. You know, so I never knew about it until after the fact. You know, I'd love to have seen that. But she tore it down for fear, her kids monkeying around with it and
Wow.
getting hurt. But she thought, why did my kids build that? At first she goes, wait a minute, my kids can't do that. They're too big. The logs are too big. So crazy stuff.
that reminds me of one of the experiences my grandfather had told me before, and it was the one where he saw, something on the ridge. I know I told you guys this before, and I wish to this day that we could still get up to that area, but it's so grown up now you can't even get a vehicle up there now. And
guys, I gotta go. I think there's a duck on my porch for some reason. I'll be right back. Oh, what the hell?
Knocking on the door.
I hear it quacking out in the. I don't know what in the.
we're getting into this seriousness, and I think there's a duck on my porch.
That's hilarious.
So, Jerry,
I have one more about that spot yet.
Yeah,
I got one more story from that area.
Yeah.
So later, now we talked about the second vocalization in October of 2020. Now later that month, my wife's mom lives in Delaware, southern Delaware. So we were coming back home from her house, and we come down 136, kind of makes a dip around that bridge I'm talking about that you could go under it, with the waterway and go over to the scout camps. Across that bridge and started back up the hill. Boom! I got two pale yellows, man. Well, should hold them up. Two pale yellows up quite a ways in height, and they staring just straight down. Didn't vary, didn't turn, twist, didn't blink, straight down.
I remember you telling me about this. I wonder, Jerry, do you think that it was sizing you up, or, what do you think?
I don't know what to think. Of all the things that you're going to ask me, what's my creepiest thing? That is the creepiest thing that creeped me out. Okay?
Like, did you feel like, because I remember you telling me this, did you feel like in that certain time, I mean, of course, like being absolutely terrified, but on top of that, did you feel like that you was in a fight or flight situation, or was you just, okay, what do I do?
Stunned.
Okay.
The first thing I wanted to do is try to debunk it. Okay?
Yeah.
Now she was, of course, snoozing because we were just getting ready to turn in the road. We were 45 seconds, 60 seconds from home. When we saw this, I saw it, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, shit, whatever I said, and she woke up, and I got chili bumps on my arms. I said, I whipped the car around, and what are you doing? I said, I saw eye shine. I turned around and went back down the hill and spun around, put the high beams back on, and just to make sure, because there's a yellow sign on the side of the road as you cross the bridge, come up the hill. I wanted to make sure I didn't see a reflection off the back window.
Yeah.
That would reflect on the front window. Nothing. Saw nothing. And that hill, when you get that guardrail that it would have been behind, the land starts dropping off down in the bottom, because when you get down the bottom, it's Broad Creek. And that thing had to be every bit of 7 foot plus tall, if not taller. I can't tell you how far down in that, when it was starting to drop off, it was actually standing behind the guardrail. But there's no mistaking those yellows. I mean, they're not here. It wasn't a deer. I mean, they weren't huge brown, but they were sizable. Okay. But then they were far apart. And I mean, just the motion was just so smooth. It just dropped straight down. Never seen them again. Now, did it drop on all fours and going down the hill? Probably so.
I feel like in that situation, it would have been, for me, it would have been more like, okay, I'm completely going the other way.
Yeah. It's one thing when you hear vocalization, because it's not close to you.
Yeah.
But when you see that and you're like, oh, shit, I can't. Yep. Now that was another thing for me, about the subject. I've seen everything now but a trackway. That's the only thing I have never seen. And maybe I've stumbled across them around here. I don't know. I just wasn't looking for it. But I've had, as far as I'm concerned, that audio I heard definitely the second time around, it got in my mind. The first one was so textbook. I'm sure it's probably what it was. And there's no mistaking that eye shine. It is nothing like a deer, nothing like a deer. And I'm used to deer because they're in our field all the time here. When you come home at night, so
and we've talked about this before as well. As I love to, I've asked you the same question, Jerry, before when you shared that story with me, as like how your reaction was, because I love to hear, if someone comes across something like that, is how they react to it. Is, was you stunned, or was it more or less you felt like you was in a fight or flight situation, or do you feel like, okay, we just need to turn the other way? Because if you line 5 people up and they see the same thing, every single one of them is probably going to say something different.
Probably.
And
So.
I mean, us, we would probably be like, we were stunned, but there's also other people would be like, well, I guess I need to try to run it over. I need to.
Well, you weren't going to do that there because you'd have to take the guardrail with you. But I knew I wanted to make sure what I saw was what I seen. It wasn't a reflection. That was my first thing, was get the car turned around, get back down across that bridge, come past that sign again, and make damn sure that it wasn't a reflection. And it was not a reflection. And it's just no mistaking what they are when you see that. And but I'll tell you what it did for me. Every vehicle I drive has a dash cam now.
Yeah,
I bought a dash cam for my truck, or car, RV. They all got dash cams now, front and back. So, yep.
Also, what I just highlighted is Chad's YouTube channel. He is getting ready to go live Sunday at 5:00 Central Time.
5:00 Central Time.
So everybody be sure to go check him out and, go show him support, because he's an awesome individual. He's been freaking awesome. Just like I want to give a shout out to Old Line Cryptids, Jerry and his crew. They was the very first ones to get me into this and gave me a shot to promote my channel as well too. So go give both of these guys love. Go on YouTube, look up the podcast Off the Record, and go look up Old Line Cryptids. You guys will find some really awesome material.
Well, I tell you what, you got some John Lamb, Mogion Monster, Mogs, man, Phyllis. You got a lot of people in chat over here. A lot of familiar names. It's good to see everybody over here.
Definitely.
It's awesome.
And I think it's awesome that we're able to share all of our channels and all of our live streams with one another, because in return, obviously, you guys, when you guys go live on yours, you give me the notification. I'll be there to share it and live stream it on my channel as well.
Cool.
So,
yeah, that's there's a lot of things that have happened around. There's a couple of other areas in the county. The county, Jeff is like a book. He I don't know how he has time to read and remember all this stuff. But, this county, for the state of Maryland, has the highest amount of recorded sightings. And that includes the western mountain areas, which, granted, there's less people out there than there is here. But it seems like we stumble across Maryland stuff weekly that we find out about. Elaine's in chat. Elaine's here locally. She's in the county. She's been on our show and told her story. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, if we can keep supporting each other, my podcast is different than your guys' podcast. You guys are all cryptid, all things, strange like that. But yet we all will tie in together with our stuff. We'll probably have the same type of guests on. And I think that's what's really good, is we can all be one gigantic family.
Yep.
And people will never get bored. That's the way I look at it.
We need
and don't forget, Night Owls is on at 11 Eastern tonight. That's
awesome.
That's Woodwalker's second show with Mr.
Does Gary have the link to that stream?
I'm sure he does. Gary is on it.
Yeah, it's on Woodwalkers. That's the channel it's on.
Okay,
Woodwalkers.
Gary, if you can find that and post that in the chat, I'll highlight it so everybody knows to copy the link. And
They even put the tractor pulling. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that.
so, one of my questions I want to ask is to both you, Jerry, and Chad. What is one place that you want to go to, investigate where there's been Bigfoot sightings or even UFOs or haunted sightings? What is the one place that is on your bucket list that you want to go and check out?
Real simple.
I'll say Area 51.
Oh,
Whoa.
I wasn't expecting that one.
We have plenty of time also to get into that realm and paranormal as well, if you guys would like.
That happened here. That's another thing I forgot to tell you. But anyway, that involved my mother. LBL for me, I think. LBL and Alabama. I cannot wait to get my butt down to Alabama, man. I'm telling you, I'm going to love Alabama. Every bit of it.
Alabama was pretty. That trip with the Woodwalkers crew. When you're with a bunch of Bigfoot people that have experienced Bigfoot, you kind of go in like, okay, let's see what this is like. They tell me this is a hot spot, and you're always, what's that sound? What's that sound?
Right.
I think the one place that I want to go to that's on my bucket list is Folk, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Falk, Arkansas.
Yeah, Falk, or however you say it.
Falk. I've always called it Falk. I guess that's how you say that.
Obviously, we all know that's where the legend of Boggy Creek took place. And there he is.
Did that duck
go?
your ass?
So much for the peace and quiet. There goes the neighborhood.
Well, I think I might be down one duck.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What happened?
When I was closing everything up, not quite everybody apparently had wandered into the duck enclosure, and they're always in the back of it, so I just kind of shut it up right when I shut the chickens up. Well, I guess some of the ducks were still wandering around, and I've got 3 that kind of look like mallards, and then I think they're like khaki camels or something. Then I had 3 Pekings, which are these big, fat, white ducks. Mm-hmm. Well, I walk outside and there's 2 Pekings down there in the front yard looking at the front porch, just losing their minds. And then they started waddling away, and they weren't waddling very fast, so I just picked them up and carried them back to the enclosure. But apparently the khakis were still out too, a couple of them, and we're missing a white duck. So I didn't see any feathers anywhere. He could be buried under something, but the way they were acting tells me probably not, because they were very agitated. They don't normally walk up to my house at 9:30 at night.
Well, hopefully you'll find it, man.
Jeff, about that pale walker. You want to bring that up real quick? Over here at Crawler. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Over here across the river, what are we, half hour away at the most here?
Yeah.
20 minutes from us. Go ahead.
The pale crawler. So there was a guy who used to haul manure for us, which is how I run into a lot of people and this kind of stuff from
It's
around
all about
here.
the shit.
Well, farm related, sometimes you hear things, and the guy said he's seen, weird stuff at night on the, weird pictures of stuff he's taken that he didn't notice before. But the pale crawler, he was over across the river right next to Muddy Run, and it's a reservoir there, and there's also a power plant there. In fact, one of my friends works at that power plant, and he's actually going camping with me on this next trip. But they've heard some stuff in there, and I've talked to Jerry. Jerry and I've talked about that before. Weird noises, stuff, trees breaking, and popping and all that stuff. And this guy was driving across there at night. And then the one side of it is a reservoir, and the other side is like a sheer drop off. I refer to it as the Great Divide. It's Jerry's seen it, it's big.
Mhm.
Like, you're not just going to get any average critters going to cross that thing. He watched it come out. He saw it as it was climbing over the chain link. And then it was in the road. And, he described it as your typical, gray, humanoid looking. It shielded itself from the car lights. And then it just kind of disappeared over the guardrail. Now, keep in mind, that is a very impressive drop off. Do you know how deep that is, Jerry?
I don't know how deep it is, but it's deep.
It's a height. I mean, if anybody ever ramps a car off of that thing, they're going to the great unknown in a short order, because they're you don't have a whole lot of options.
No. You're not coming out of it, I promise you.
No.
And there's a nuclear power plant right across the river from the Muddy Run. There's a power plant there at Muddy Run.
Well, you've got the generation plant right there at Muddy Run. You've got Holtwood, and then right down
Peach
that
Bottom.
heading towards Conowingo Dam is the is Peach Bottom.
Peach Bottom, and
The
then
atomic
you got
plant.
Conowingo Dam's electric too.
Yeah.
So you've got a bunch of power plant facilities.
And Peach
a few
Bottom's
miles
an
away.
atomic plant. So, yeah.
And there's a lot of, I won't say a lot, but there are some reports out of that Peach Bottom area over there too.
I've actually fished down there below Holtwood by the Normanwood, and John and I have had rocks thrown at us when we've been out there night fishing for catfish.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you'll just hear a whoop, and you can tell that it's not a fish, and there's nowhere for anybody to be really launching rocks at you. Because
I'm not going out there fishing at night.
I was going to say, so why are you still there? I mean, why would
You
you?
don't know what's in that water. That's a peculiar area, guys. I'm
The
telling you.
biggest fish I've ever caught were right in there.
Okay.
I'm sure Miss Mary could tell us about some of the things that's come. Oh, our first co-host that was with us lived near that area. We just leave it there, but he's took quite a few reports there too, I do believe.
Yes, he has.
But I'm not fishing there, Mike.
There was talk of skinwalkers and stuff around Lancaster, and I remember, everybody talking about Albatwitch, which we can never get anybody to come on about.
Nobody will come on and talk about the Albatwitch, Apple Snitch. That's
Yeah.
what the Amish German.
It's basically a pygmy Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one.
Albatwitch, they get up in the apple trees and steal the apples.
Which might
Apple
explain why your
snitch.
apples always disappear.
Elaine says she'll be fishing down at the dam Sunday. I don't want to go.
Yep. Elaine likes going to the dam.
And when you go to the dam and you go south down the river is where I got my photograph.
Yep.
Park, down to Susquehanna Park.
Yeah, Mary doesn't have personal experience with Albatwitch.
Gary said to quit talking about fishing. He can't go yet. So, you guys want to get on the subject of paranormal?
Sure.
All right.
Boy.
I've got some of that, but I don't know. Jerry, do you have any paranormal?
The only thing outside of what I've talked about would have been the
Your
it's
plasma.
not something I seen. Oh, the ectoplasm. Yeah.
Ectoplasm.
Yes. My parents' house there we had a game camera out in the tree on the backyard. It looked towards the garden for whatever reason. Caught an ectoplasm I will find actually our outro on our show.
It's on our outro,
shows
yeah.
it. It's creepy. I didn't know what it was. I sent it to Ken King. You know, I was watching Ken King back then, and just for the entertainment value, and nothing against him. And I sent him that picture. I said, "What do you think of that?" And he called it, "That's an interesting ectoplasm." What the hell's an ectoplasm? I don't know what an ectoplasm was. You know, I tried to do a little research, but yeah. If I can find a picture of that real quick while y'all are talking about your cryptid stuff, I'll present it. I'll try to. I've never tried that before. I'll try to present it here. So.
Have you guys seen the photo recently that was taken of Bigfoot in Alabama?
Which one?
It was in one of the groups that I was in. I don't know the full backstory on this, but it was apparently taken on a trail cam. And I've got the picture right here. And there's a little text on it where somebody attacked somebody in it, but I'll try to bring it up on my phone so everybody can see. But I want to get y'all's thoughts on it. Is that right there?
Well, we can't see it.
With your background. Oh, that's
What is that?
Wow, that thing's got some arms on it, don't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to
See.
Yeah, send that to me so I can look at it with my computer.
that's one thing I want to learn, Jerry, is how to bring a picture onto the screen so other people can see it.
Gary, I don't know if I'll have to send this to you, but Pat Noble's got a really good pic that somebody caught of something running behind them in West Virginia. That it looks like a complete blur, but I've looked at it versus some of the other blob squatches, you know, size wise, and this thing looks like a big hairy blur just moving behind the trees.
I think I may know how to do this. Hang on.
Yeah, you put it in your screen in another window, and you go down at the bottom of your screen there where it says present.
Right there. I don't know if I can zoom it in, but
that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's the wrong way to do it.
Let's see.
Scroll down, look down below our screens where we're at on here live. See your mute, stop cam settings, present, and leaves there. You want to click on present.
Okay. Image file. There we go. Okay.
Just highlight. There you go.
There we go. Okay.
That's
what do you
interesting.
What do you guys think about that?
That's a big. If it's fake, that's one big dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that posted, and somebody had said that this was taken on a trail cam in Alabama. So I'm not sure like I said, I'm not sure of the full backstory.
I mean, look at the feet on it.
And it seems very tall to that tree next to him.
He almost looks like he's sporting a Ron Jeremy hairdo.
I like that. That's what you used as a comparison.
Only you, Jeff. Only you, Jeffrey. Only you.
He's got you see how it's all slicked back. It's like he's been groomed. He's been grooming himself.
Yeah. John Lamb said that pic looks like the Patterson Bigfoot superimposed on a different background. And Tammy Johnson says looks in proportion, not a monkey suit. Phyllis says doesn't look real. Sorry. I just saw this in one of the group guys. I'm not sure. Like I said, someone said that it was taken on a trail cam.
Only thing I question, I think the arms could be just a little longer.
Yeah.
You know, I know everything's different. I question the structure of the shoulders and the back of the head.
I just caught something.
If I look at the waist area,
you see a seam.
The fur doesn't match the lower fur.
It looks like somebody's got a pair of pants with the shirt.
That is correct. It actually looks like it was photoshopped on there.
Two
different.
Yeah, look right there at the right at the waistline. It looks like you can see
it definitively.
Yeah. I see that now.
I see a Santa's skull in its back pocket too. Just saying.
Sure, you weren't looking in my pocket.
You don't know. Anyway,
At first,
All right.
but once you stop and study it, then you start seeing.
Yeah.
You start seeing red lights real quick.
So
Yes, somebody just said no butt crack.
that's a good point, though. It really is.
And
that
it
is a
looks-
poop.
It looks very edited. It looks
Yeah.
very edited, like two pieces were put together
Yeah,
there.
Twisted said no butt crack.
Yeah, and
You're
it
right,
looks like
Gary.
it was blurred. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Gary said stinking fake
I
pics
hate
are hurting us bad, and that's true.
exactly. I'll try to find that real quick. Because
Yeah.
I've always wanted to present a photo as a guest. I'm going to try that. So
Can you add to it as well, Jerry, or do you need to send it to me and I can put it on there?
I think I'm going to try. I should be able to present
Okay.
it. I know Kendra does it on my tractor pulling show. So
Well, that was
I'm going to see
awesome.
if I can do it.
All of us and the chat was able to debunk that, so that was
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes, try to pull up the ectoplasm picture that you got.
I got to find it first. So.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find
Hey,
that
Roger's
picture.
here. Hey, Roger.
Trying to find that picture Pat sent me a while back. Where is that?
And I agree. Gary says stinking fake pics are hurting us bad. You know, it's how advanced AI has got now in Photoshop and everything. It's hard to tell what, on a lot of pictures you can tell that's, it's faked or AI or something, but you got to look out for the small imperfect things that they do on it. But there's also a lot of them where they've got it spot on. You're like, oh.
Well, now you're bringing the conspiracy thing out with me, is that they do that for a reason, to make you think that the whole Bigfoot community is crazy and what they're actually saying is not real. So throw some fake AI pictures in there now, especially. I'm like, oh, that's AI. That's AI. Then you see a real one. I'm like, well, that's AI too.
Yeah.
It's out of hand. They do the same thing with the UFO community,
Yep. So we was talking a little bit about getting into the paranormal thing. I'd mentioned previously before on previous streams when Jerry and Jeff had me on the old line live stream. One of the scariest experiences I had when it comes to paranormal was one of the first times I ever experienced something. I was at my brother's girlfriend's at the time, her parents' house. And, being a kid, hanging out with your older brother, when he's all in there with his girlfriend or whatever, you're like, oh, well, I'm going to go outside and go run around in the woods, go have fun, jump on the trampoline, something like that. Well, it started to get late and I went back into the house and I was waiting for him in the living room, and where his living room was, her living room was, behind it was a long hallway, and that's where all the bedrooms and the bathrooms were. And he was walking out of his girlfriend's bedroom at the time, and I turned around to, meet him and talk to him. And as he walked by, his girlfriend's bedroom was the farthest down the house on the right, and then right beside her bedroom was her baby brother's bedroom, which was like a newborn. And they always left the door open so they could hear whenever the kid would cry or they had to get up and go take care of her. And as he was walking by, on the side of the wall, there was a light emitting out of the door, and I saw two shadows that looked like two grown men that was sitting in there having a conversation. And my brother turned around, and thankfully he saw the same thing. And we sit there and looked at that. It seemed like 5 minutes. It was like 30 seconds. And we finally, rushed in there and we looked, and nothing at all. And that was the thing, is you could see what looked like two grown men talking, and it looked like one of them was moving his hands, talking, having a conversation. And like I said, as soon as we walked in there was nothing in there. So I don't know if it was a residual haunting. I don't know what the deal was, but it was most definitely something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know my wife's not here right now. She's in the kitchen right now, but she's seen shadow people in our kitchen at our previous place we lived. They say you see shadow people out the corner of your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we hear. She saw at one time a man with a hat, and I still talk about the story of Hat Man, which is an urban legend. And then she saw, was it 2 or 3? It was 2 children, I think. And we live in a condo in the middle of everywhere, so but she swears she saw them. So it's pretty wild.
Jeff has just sent me a picture.
Yeah, that was from Pat Noble, and they took that in West Virginia. A friend of his.
This is the picture that he's talking about.
Yeah.
So
if you blow it up, I've seen a couple other pictures where people have gotten stuff like that, and it looks just like that. They didn't notice that right away.
What do you think that was?
I don't know. But whatever it is, it's as tall as the person on the horse and the horse.
Yeah. That's creepy. Because it seems like in the picture, like the individual on the horse is just doesn't even realize that it's there.
Yeah.
Chad, Pennsylvania, yes. Bigfoot Project said, Blackie, did you say Hat Man? One of my guests saw a Hat Man in Western Pennsylvania.
My wife claims that she saw a man wearing a hat. Yes. Shadow.
I've heard stories of the Hat Man and everything as well.
There's the ectoplasm.
Yep. There's the ectoplasm. That is insane. Both of them pictures that you guys have sent, that's absolutely insane.
Oops. I just did. Yeah, it's
it almost looks like the bush is on fire.
Exactly, but it wasn't on fire.
Yeah.
And I don't know can you see my cursor or no? Picture? No, okay. To the left-hand side of the very edge of that fire appearance looks like, if you really study it, an angry groundhog face is what it looks like.
It's Jerry's groundhog.
It's
trapped in it.
Jerry's nemesis groundhog.
So yeah, and I sent that picture, and right away it came back. Oh, that's a interesting ectoplasm.
Mm-hmm.
But
did you see that right there? Pat said that horse spooked during that photo.
Huh.
Okay. But anyway, that I don't know. It wasn't sunny that day, so there was no sun glare to cause that. I mean, I don't think sun glare is going to appear as fire anyway.
No, not at all.
Or just in one spot like that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's there's no glare coming off of that.
If somebody in chat would like to enlighten me a little further into defining what an ectoplasm is, why, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing bad has happened here, so I don't know. I'm not well versed in that stuff. I don't know.
Has anybody ever seen a spirit on a security camera?
Just videos.
I got one out here in my yard. Year when we first moved in here.
Do you got the video?
I can't find it. I think it was one of those Arlo cameras, and after a while they kind of recycle. So I haven't been able to recover it. But you can watch it walk out of the old, and Jerry stood there in that same spot, getting stuff out of the store.
And
whatever it was walked out of the barn and walked right. It looked like Charlie Glasgow almost, just the old owner kind of. It was faded, you know. It wasn't real like definitive, but you could tell it looked. There was somebody like matching his description, and you could see the walk as it walked into the old dairy, which is where the store is. And then it just dissipated once it got right there.
There was one that I saw the other day, and it was of it was kind of like what you were saying, Jeff. It was on like a camera mounted on a house, and this man is getting out of his car, and behind him there is a road. He lives in a community, and he says, "Watch as this man gets out of the car." And sure enough, as soon as he gets out of his car, he turns around and he looks like he's looking at something, but you don't see anything at first. And when he turns back around, you see something appear. It looks like just a see-through figure, and it looks like it's walking, and it stops, and it looks like that it's glaring at him. Well, at that time, he turns back around because apparently he said he heard something, and he takes off running because his driveway's right here and his car's right here. He takes running towards his house, and by the time he takes running towards the house, you can barely see it, but it looks like it crosses the road like it's running after him. And he said that after that happened, he had went in his house that night and he had a really, really bad headache and he had terrible nightmares. I'm not sure, but here is another photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see anything there, Adam? It's tough. It's tough.
It looks like in the black part, it looks like something standing. Like, can you enlighten me on the photo?
I wish I could see my cursor. This is a photo that I got over at a local campground here, probably 15, 20 minutes away, over on the river. It's approximately 11:20 p.m. at night, pitch black.
Jerry, I can't see your cursor.
I know. I wish I
wish there was a way we could fix that.
Yeah, I don't know how to take care of that, but there is definitely an eye socket there, Brow Ridge. Obviously, you got a lot of leaf cover there.
That's what I'm saying. It looks like there's something standing right there that, like,
staring directly at the camera. Earlier that day, I put cameras out on my RV, all four corners, front, back, side, and side. And that particular day, I was getting the griddle out of the RV about 3:30 in the afternoon, getting it ready to cook dinner at the campground there. And a tree went over. Okay. And I couldn't see the tree, but it was off to the right-hand side of the RV and down towards the river. And I'm sorry. Hold on, guys.
No, you're good.
What do you want for tomorrow? Oh, boy. Donuts. Anyway. Sorry. So a tree went down. I know trees can fall, but there was no wind that day, et cetera, et cetera. So we cooked, set out the campfire that night, put it all out and everything, and I put the cameras up, and I'm thinking, maybe I'll take this one camera that I normally just mount facing out the right-hand side. There's a tree beside our RV there, camping spot, that kind of had a limb that if I hung that camera on that limb, it would face the direction that tree went down that afternoon. And 11:20 p.m. that night, 11:20 p.m., whatever it was on the photo, it caught that. It caught. And if I show you the original image and then look at this one, you say, how in the world? Because I thought in the original image, I thought I saw something else. And then I got to digging on this one, and Chad knows, and I got to digging on this one, and I'm like, well, there it is. There's something else there. I don't know what I was looking at, but wow. I couldn't believe my eyes, you know.
This one right here, I can see way better.
Yeah. This is an enhanced only as in coloration. I haven't altered anything else other than, you know, trying to bring out that background a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot of leaf foliage.
Looking at this one, you know what I see here, Jerry?
What's that?
It looks more cat-like.
I can see where he's saying that too, because if you look at the top right of the
look at that ear. That looks almost more like a cat ear than a dog ear.
Well, I think, me personally, it doesn't have the big conical shaped head.
Yeah.
And I think what's making it appear to be an ear is there's leaf foliage here. I can actually see the top of the head roughly.
I'm not thinking that's a Bigfoot.
I don't know what it is.
That is, that.
Because
you see the eyebrow and you see the eye socket, and then you see the side of its head look like it's standing right there. It's just
what makes me think it's not an ear is there's leaf cover there to make it look like there's a dent there to make an ear, but I don't think it is an ear.
Well, just the shape of it, the way I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like a Bigfoot head.
Yeah. But it does look, I tell you, it's got a snout. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. I can see the snout plain as day.
But it does have a significant brow ridge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it has that typical significant, brow ridge.
I wonder if we could be dealing with what they call a type 3.
I would love to give out the Kumbo or something. Somebody that's more knows that stuff. The clan here doesn't have a conical head. Yeah, Gary, I agree. Not all of them have a conical head.
Yeah.
That thing has a brow ridge. That thing has an eyeball looking at me. I can clearly see the whites on each side of the eyeball itself.
Well, here's the thing. There's so many, just like us. I mean, look at me, and then look at Jeff's fat head, and then Jerry. We all and we all have different shaped heads, and we've already talked about the different types of Bigfoot, the different types of dogmen, and other creatures that exist. So I love this picture. I really do. I see more of this. Again, I'm a guy on the outside. I see so many pictures that are just blurs.
Yeah.
But when I look at this view right here, I see, the nose, the eye, the ear, the head, the brow, I see it.
That's what my wife was just saying as well too. She was looking at it and she's like, "Holy crap, that is freaking creepy."
And here's the thing: if that thing could have just been a half a foot, tipped its head a half a foot to its left, we would probably see the other eye socket started.
Well, and you can, and Jerry, you can see. I'm using my cursor, but you can't see it. From the eye to the other side of the bridge of the nose, you can. Yes. That's all perfectly. Yep. You can see that.
Yeah, that's perfectly.
Yeah. And if you go to what you would say consider the center of that nose area ridge, go straight up.
Yep.
Okay. You'll see like what could be 2 wrinkles.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like
I'm not saying it is,
and it's It's almost, if you look at the far left of it too, you can see the start of the other brow as well.
Yes, you can.
Agreed.
No.
And I think it's an infrared camera, whatever they are, whatever their trail cams are. I couldn't believe it. How far away? I don't. It's just that particular tree area. It's just across the roadway. I'm trying to think. I'm terrible at distances. Probably 75 foot or more away. 75 to 100 foot away.
Yeah.
Okay. Pitch black. So
that's
pretty impressive for cheap hang on a tree camera. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And what you have is very rudimentary as far as trail cams. So that might be what helped you out there.
Well, all the photos that you guys have shared has just been absolutely awesome. I mean, terrifying, but awesome. I mean, just imagine that if you was 5 feet from that and you just looked up and you saw that staring right back at you.
So I'm going to go back to this again with a lot of the picture. Okay, again, I'm an outsider, but a lot of these pictures that I've seen from you guys and everybody in chat that shared stuff and been on shows, why aren't more people, and I talk people as in scientists or researchers, saying this is a real thing? I don't understand. It's obviously, it's not pareidolia. I'm seeing actual faces, sometimes faces and bodies. So why aren't they telling us this is real? What do you think their issue is?
I don't know.
That is a really good question. I think one of them, when it comes to these people that has been doing this and has been on, TV and stuff, I think they're more or less afraid for their, them to be embarrassed or whatever. I think it's more or less that they are afraid that somebody's going to look at this, an outsider, and they're going to like share it with somebody else, and then people's going to call them a fraud or whatever. But in reality, we've all had this conversation before, is it doesn't matter what other people say, because number one, they wasn't there, and number two, they didn't see it.
Right.
And how can you sit there, and I've said this before, is how can you sit here and call someone a liar or call someone, well, that's not real, when you wasn't even there in the first place to see it? Why are you so quick to say that's not real just because you haven't seen it?
I would say anybody that hasn't quite gotten into this yet, if you're just starting to, go watch Flash of Beauty, because they do a great job of documenting this.
Yeah.
Don't they, Jerry?
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said Flash of Beauty for people that
That is a good show. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very good show.
Yeah.
It goes back. Linda Eastburn, back in the earlier episodes, I assume she's still involved in that, but she's interviewed some very, very incredible people.
So Pat sent me this. It was sent to him by a friend of his, and I guess the squirrel set the camera off, but what's going on back there?
That is...
Yeah. I can't tell how far away it is.
Or how big it is.
No.
Because you can't tell how far.
You can see the squirrel right here. So
yeah.
It looks like it's like, honestly, it kind of looks like it's jumping down from the tree. If you
almost, or like it's stepped out from the tree and it's going.
Whatever it is, it doesn't seem very tall.
Yeah.
Could be a juvenile.
Could be. I'm not going to deny that. Could be a different type of cryptid.
Yeah.
I mean, a hairy cryptid. Maybe that's your albatwitch or whatever. I don't know.
I'm looking to see if I can pull up the pic I have from my trackway, if I can figure out how to use my phone tonight. Come on. Let's see. What's going to be really interesting, Jerry, is that LBL footage when it comes out.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Wait until you guys see that. They're working on it. So as soon as some stabilization and some other stuff, it's gonna be. Mary just sent a photo. What do we got? All right, I'm gonna send it. I can't. Hold on. That's going to be some interesting footage, Jerry. You've seen
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the footage, but
Yeah, but we've seen some. We've
Yeah,
seen enough
a little
that it's. Yeah.
Here is the one you just sent.
That's Mary just sent me that one. Now, what is that, Mary? I can see a head. Can anybody else see that?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like in the middle of the. Is it in the middle of the
It's in the
screen?
middle of the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Mary. What was the deal on that one?
Is that an eye?
Mary said that was the twins in Oklahoma, so there must be two of them.
I'm not. I
I'm
don't
only
see.
seeing one right
I
now.
only see one. I don't see the other one.
Wait a minute.
How do I do that?
Look off to the left hand.
You think that's the second one over, like the brown area there?
I'm thinking it might be. Because
Yeah.
it's the same color as that head.
I'm looking at that first one that's on the right. Is that an eye where the dark is?
Yeah, it looks like a head to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna look back here and see if I can find my. Come on.
It looks like a picture that's been zoomed in so much.
Yeah.
Lost its. But
Definitely distortion is, yeah. That happens.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I would hope she wouldn't be that close.
Yeah. That is terrifying.
Mary, her sister saw one in a tree on that trip.
Adam, I sent you one. Came in on my phone, so
I see that one clear. That right there at the very bottom. That is full facial features and everything. It looks like it has its mouth open.
you should be able to use your cursor, Adam, and show that because you shared that. Your cursor should show up on that photo. I would think.
No.
No, it's not showing up. I'll be done.
You can see that. That's Gary Spikes, and I tell you what, that's not Gary Spikes, but that's his picture. That is that face.
Yeah.
And it's one of the ones that I saw right away.
I'm almost to the one I'm looking for. Hold on.
That is terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Now, where you said it's in the lower corner? Where is it? Oh,
Right.
now I see it.
He said he wanted the bacon I was cooking.
Yeah, I can see it now.
I mean, Gary, if I was in the woods, I would want the bacon you were cooking as well. So
Oh, here we go. I found it.
Give it up.
It's
That's
coming.
it.
It's my trackway picture.
Oh.
Well, at least the one picture I got of the one print before my phone died. Gotta love the service in Allegheny County. You cannot do that picture justice. If you've been standing there looking at it, you'd be able to see the toes better. But you can, if you look above my foot, you'll see where it cuts off at. I can see the toe impressions in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wear a size 11. Look at it next to mine. And the heel ends about where mine's at.
I'd say that looks like the heel,
Yeah.
and it's very wide.
Yeah. It's extremely wide. I actually caught it because I was looking back at the camp which is like right across the creek, which is like there's like a little ridge I was standing on that overlooks the where we were camping. And I just happened to turn, and as I was turning, I was looking at the ground, and I caught that, and I was like just kind of blown away that if you look at the indentation, you can tell that that's deeper than like what my foot would leave.
Well, it looks like to me that it was there for a while. Simply because, I mean, it
was very dry.
And then you have the green leaves just
yeah
right there. So those would have had to have grown, but I can see it.
What I will say that when I saw it, I don't know how long it had been there. It couldn't have been there that long because there was enough of the leaves pushed away that if it had been, the wind or whatever would have covered it back up. So that track couldn't have been there any longer than a few days if it wasn't there the night before, because wind blows and blows leaves around.
Right.
Yeah. And the fact that it was looking right down on top of where we were at. So that actually green piece you see right there in the track was smushed in.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah, when I found it. You could tell where something had kind of.
I can definitely see the heel area
and
up around where the from
toe to toe. Look how much it sinks in. I wish I had LiDAR on my phone to do that day. But I mean, when I got back, I called Spencer and I was like, hey, there was some impressions, and he goes, well, how deep were they? And I was like, well, they're at least an inch, maybe deeper. He's like, well, you were on dry ground, weren't you? I was like, yeah, I wasn't leaving a mark. And he goes, well, what else do you know that would do that?
Something that weighs
a lot. Have somebody barefoot that weighs as much as a 1,000-pound Angus cow walking around up there.
Well, and that's one thing I've always thought about when people take the cast prints and everything.
Yeah.
Is how many people run through the woods barefoot? It's like, oh, that picture is fake. I'm like, but it's a, it's.
Well,
it's,
I can assure you that no one was running barefoot on that ridge. Not to mention the fact, and I can send you. Let me see if I can find it. I got some other pictures before my phone died. I got a couple of that trail that it used to be on the map, but they took it off. And this is where the same place where I got the mimics while I was in the hammock.
Get ready, Adam. There's a ton of photos coming in.
I got you. Okay, so
we're going to be running up until night owls. Look at that.
Well, I'm going to have to get off here soon because I got to eat some dinner.
Yeah, I think we're going to call it at 10:30 so we don't run into anybody's else's stream. Okay.
Where is that damn file?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, real quick. This is the original photo before you go in and start looking for that face that I showed earlier. It's in there. That's the original photo from the camera.
Mm.
My RV spot would be just to the left of that, right behind it.
Is that a can of Mike's Hard Lemonade there on the left in the tree?
That's actually a sign.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah, it's a sign. That's actually a trailhead there, just past that tree. Before you see what you thought was Mike's Lemonade, there's a trailhead there. It's a green trail. Okay. It goes down. Gotcha. Eventually, it'll take you down to the river. So,
All right, so let's pull this one up now.
This is from Mary Fabian.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Is
That
that
was
the
a good
one
shooter.
that Pat? Is that the one that Todd was working on? Yeah.
Bigfoot New York Todd. Yeah. There's a
Blue
couple
Eye sent
pictures
one.
there.
There you go.
Oh, Adam's getting to work out now, ain't he?
Yeah, say.
Figuring
Yeah.
all this stuff out.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute my mic real quick so I don't you guys don't hear my clicking and everything.
Don't everybody talk at once.
Well, I was looking at the
Sorry, I'm
picture.
That's from Roger.
Yeah, you can see that one too. Big toe. Here again, I'm circling with my cursor, but you can see the big toe, the heel, and the indentations of the other toes.
No doubt about it. That's a biggie. That's a big footprint. Track. Circled in red. We appreciate that, Roger.
all right, Jerry.
That's her Spencer.
Huh?
Crash
That's-
course. Hold on, it's coming.
Crash course.
Well, that hold on that thing we were talking about earlier.
Bud.
Did my log jam picture come in yet? Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to keep up.
That trail looked like that trail. The majority of that trail, once you got further up, started looking like that. Look how they're all laid. It almost looked like a lumber company went in there.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to keep up with the photos.
The farther you get up in there, Jerry, the more of that you saw.
Reminds me a lot of Colorado Bigfoot guy stuff. You always seen piles of trees like that. Not in Colorado. I said it right this time. My wife gives me hell. I always say when I'm in a hurry, I say Colorado. It's not Colorado.
Bud's in the chat.
Bigfoot Bud is the man. How you, Bigfoot Bud?
I'm really getting tired of Mary threatening everybody with,
Hawk smash.
yeah. Mary,
Better
be
get her
nice.
done, man.
I'm telling you. She scares me.
All
Actually, I
right.
get to meet Mary in August, and I'm really excited about that. Eric and I both.
Is this a thermal footage?
That was the
Yes.
one we were talking about, Jerry. The one I sent you the up close of.
I got you. Yeah. I thought it looked familiar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just not zoomed in.
it's not zoomed in.
Yeah, that is that's some good stuff right there.
Yeah. That was LBL.
Yep.
And once you see a closer version of it, you're going to start rethinking some things.
Yeah.
Those
Absolutely.
were awesome.
Teaser
Awesome.
alert.
Awesome.
Teaser alert.
Well, guys, I think it has been a great stream.
Yeah.
Already?
Yep.
We're 2 hours and 25, 2:22 into it.
Man, we were going for 6-7 hours, man. Come on. Don't let Roger win again. I'm just kidding.
I really hope someday we can do the marathon where we do the whole day thing we talked
Coming.
about last year.
If
That
I
would be
get my
awesome.
wish, it's
Back to back to back to back to back shows.
oh
It'd be
something like that. Well, our show, I want to do a show. I got Kumbo and
awesome. Oh yeah.
Greg and whoever.
all you need is Kumbo, Greg, and Roger, and that's it.
Yep. I can just sit back and let them talk. Absolutely, Miss Mary. You come on too, Mary.
We
Clear
gotta
your
do-
schedule that day.
We got to do this again, guys.
Sure. Absolutely.
Um,
Well, you need to find you a set schedule, what works for you, and do it.
And we'll have to figure it out so we all can all stream, but not get in each other's.
Yeah.
It's time for them to go. So, but
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to all three of you gentlemen for coming and hanging out on the first live stream of mine. Thank you for sharing it. A big shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It means the world to all four of us. And we will all be doing live streams again very soon. You'll probably see familiar faces on each of our live streams. So thank you guys so much, and be sure to check out the other streams. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
Chad, tell us about Sunday, brother.
Well, let me say this.
Yep.
Check out Night Owls at 10
Yes.
o'clock Central, 11 Eastern tonight. That's always a fun show. Check us out with the Oddcast podcast Off the Record on Sunday, 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. And we're going to talk about this crazy weather that's been going on. Is it real, or is it, well, it's real, of course, but it's, is it, being manipulated?
Government manipulation.
Absolutely. So
You
That
said
might
the
be my
G
first-
word.
that might be our first and last show, depending on what YouTube thinks.
Yeah, you will.
So we'll see. But love to see everybody there. I think we'll have a good time. We're all learning together. And I tell everybody, and it's going to be my new motto, question everything.
Absolutely. Also, to Jeff and Jerry, should we add Chad to the chat so he can see the montage?
Uh-oh.
Just go the other way, Chad.
all we can say, Chad, is I got the message back from Jerry, and he said WTF.
Yeah. I want to bring up real quick. I wish David Blaylock could have been on with us tonight. I sent him a link a couple of times. I know he had family. He was coming in. His story. We was hoping to hear his story tonight.
Oh man.
It is wow.
I'm definitely going to have him on for a UFO show and
Definitely.
other things, because his is awesome.
It's incredible.
Yes.
An incredible story.
Well, thanks once again, guys. As always, go check out everybody else's YouTube channels. Go check out Chad's on Sunday. Just go check everybody's out. We're one big happy community together,
Absolutely.
hanging out and everything, and give everybody support because
Yeah,
it means
Gary's
the
putting the
absolute
links
world
over
to us.
there now for you. Yep.
Yep. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. God bless you guys and take care.
Night.
See everybody. Great weekend.
Yep.